Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 140 of the Need to Nerd podcast. I'm your host, Heezy, and I'm joined by a man with the stash, Paddy friggin' B. What's up, Paddy B? You just muted yourself. I don't know what you just did, but you just literally.
I did. It looks like I did. There's like a little I must have grazed the non-existent doesn't have an actual button that you push in.
Just out here muting ourselves. What's up, buddy?
Yeah. I may have ended up the last time that I donned the stash was when I was doing Hunchback, right before we kind of started there. I may have messed around and ended up in another show.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So rather than having my beard just people get used to it like they did with Hunchback, and then when I shaved it, it was this big ordeal of oh my gosh, who is this person? Right, just figure I'd start things now.
Nice. Well, we're not going to be talking too much about facial hair today because we didn't have it when we started gaming. Instead, we are talking about gaming controllers. For those who don't know,
we are.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's probably it right now. Gaming controllers on my desk. Paddy B likes to make fun of me that I have too many gaming controllers. Yeah, and we have a discrepancy on our Nerd Fact of the Week. I want to talk about it. That the N64 was the first controller to use an analog stick. This was according to, I think, Nerdist, but you're saying the Atari 5200 in 1982 also had one. But that's not a controller. That is a joystick.
Oh, okay. Just like
the controller was
not
a
counting
joystick.
this. Yeah, it's a joy. It looks like a man. Going back here, I'm looking at a picture right now.
Yeah, the entire controller is the stick.
No. This is the second revision of the 5200. It looks like an old school phone, where there's basically a dial pad as if it was a telephone, a couple other buttons, and then the stick.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's
I don't know why that was not considered. Leave a comment, let us know if you know why. I think it was the Nerdist did not consider this one.
Maybe because it's with the classification of analog specifically.
I actually don't know why they're called analog sticks, because they are not analog inputs. They are not off and on inputs.
Sure.
So I don't know. If you
do know, let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the Discord. Let us know in the in the comments on Spotify or wherever you were listening, or YouTube. With that being said, though, let's dive in. We are talking about our favorite gaming controllers of all time today, Paddy B. And we are not talking about the best controllers we've ever used. We're not talking about the greatest. We're talking about our favorite. And what's funny is favorite is subjective, and somehow you still got it wrong, Paddy B. And I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
But with that being said, when did you start gaming?
So I technically started gaming on my brother's Super Nintendo. As a young kid in the late 90s. I know for a lot of people that's it's a whole different era, and we're kind of in that mix where we're kind of the first ones with some of this newer technology. And
it's funny because I think you were born in 93?
92,
which is just after the release of the Super Famicom in North America. I was born in 90, and I don't remember a time where there weren't video games in my house. Like legitimately, we had a SNES, we had an NES, we had an SNES. I had a Game Boy Color. My sister had a Game Boy Color. My brother had a Game Boy Color. My older brother had a Game Gear. We got Game Boy Advances, Game Boy SPs. We had the Nintendo Switch. We've talked a lot about it on the show, like kind of the progression of systems. But like for as long as I have been alive, there has been a gaming console where I lived.
That's nice.
It's just literally never not been a thing.
Yeah, for a while, like it was my parents did not allow us to have video games. Like I think the Super Nintendo was kind of left over from my brother, but like I didn't get an Xbox till I was like in middle, almost high school.
Sure. Do you have any vivid controller memories? Like, is there a controller that you just remember either picking up for the first time or like different stuff?
I mean, with that Super Nintendo controller, like I remember because I didn't have a video games in my house, like I kind of missed the N64. And so it was always confusing to me, like, and it was always like more difficult going to a friend's house and playing games, because I wasn't as practiced,
Sure.
with them. But I just remember button smashing the the SNES, purple and blue, or light purple. I guess they were just kind of
the gray and purple.
Yeah. And those buttons just keeping it like getting stuck. Always getting mad about that. So
it's funny. Like one of my most vivid memories of like controllers specifically has to be the Duke. Like, for those who don't know, I already have little hands, and the Duke was... I think that it was just an unreasonable thing that Microsoft did.
Yeah, that's why it's the worst.
Like, I just remember, like, trying... I think we were playing Medal of Honor, and I was like, I can't hold this. Like, I can't...
Yeah.
I can't do this. And it was, like, a very vivid memory. And I remember the first time that like, I held a smaller Xbox controller. And just it changing gaming for me in, like, a lot of ways. Because I went from the Duke to that, so...
Yeah. Yeah, the Duke was wild. I was looking through, like, the list, and it was just like, this is so much.
I would say my other one has got to be like the first time like I used the N64 and like just playing in 3 dimensions was pretty new. Like it was not something that we had done a ton of in that area, and like I don't know, just like using that stick and like understanding how to move my character it's a pretty vivid memory, booting up Mario 64 and Tetris Sphere, I believe is the name of that game that we had. Great game, by the way. If you've never played Tetris Sphere, highly recommend.
That's cool.
Let's go in reverse order. We're gonna go over our favorite controllers of all time, and mine are weird, and I want to apologize how weird they are. We're gonna start with the Razer Kishi. Razer.
What the heck is this?
So
hold on.
So I actually I think it's actually behind me. Hold on.
What? Okay. I see. Yeah, I'm looking at.
This is the Razer
pictures.
Kishi. It is a controller for your phone. If you're watching, I'm gonna unlock it really quick. And what it does, I will actually just put it on my phone so people can see who are watching, is you plug your phone into it, put it around, and it turns your phone into a handheld. This one actually doesn't work for my iPhone because it was made for Androids, but they do have a new version that does work, and it is so clean. Like, look at how clean that looks, dude. It really does turn your phone into like a Nintendo Switch. It's got the Xbox layout. I actually bought this controller when I got my first Google Pixel to play Xbox on my phone, because it was when Xbox launched their streaming service for Game Pass. And I played so much Xbox in bed before completely losing my eyesight with this controller that it's crazy. As you can see, very easy to pack up and take with you on the go. And I think that type of thing is kind of important to me in controllers. It's like the fact that this collapses. It has some pretty decent ergonomics, not the best. A good D-pad is really important to me. And then just the layout. Like, I just prefer the Xbox layout even to the Switch layout. And yeah, I mean, this thing had a lot of hours on it before it was retired.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wasn't expecting like a backbone kind of.
I actually own the backbone too. It's next to my bed.
There you go. It replaced the Razer Kishi.
So the thing is that the iPhone 15 and up now have a USB-C. So the backbone that I have doesn't work on my iPhone. So I actually have a Kishi 2 in my Amazon cart right now. And I'm debating between the Kishi and the Kishi Ultimate. But like legitimately, a lot of people, one of the things that's really cool is like you can just buy a clip and like use your Xbox controller and Bluetooth enable it to like play Xbox on your phone. Like I own a clip, and that's what I would do if I was going to play on my phone right now. But I do think that these style of controllers are really amazing. I think Razer's, it's less expensive than the backbone. It's very sturdy. I've never had any problems with it. It is just one of the best controllers I've ever used.
Dope. That's awesome. My number 5 is
I gotta can I, before you say it, I reviewed these with one of our mutual friends and one of my best friends, Matt Kling.
Okay.
And I was like, I think Paddy has the first or second worst controller of all time at his number 5. And he says, quote, "Is it blank blank?" And I said, yes. He goes, "That's ridiculous. How is that his 5th favorite controller?"
It's just what I've had experience with. I have so many I have vivid memories with the Nintendo Wiimote / Nunchuck, the predecessor to, the Switch. Like doing the boxing with with that, playing tennis, bowling, like there are a lot of fun party nights.
Oh yeah.
That happened with the Nintendo Wiimote and Nunchuck.
Is that what it is though? Is it the nostalgia of being on the Wii itself?
It was the controller for that device. So
sure.
Like, I didn't, as someone someone who probably logged like a ton of hours on that maybe has a different opinion, right? As far as like the quality of the of the controller. But like I never really had any issues with it.
That's so funny.
Like sometimes the trigger just like wouldn't like register what you were doing, but like that also added to the experience.
So I have a Wii in my house. You actually think we've played Mario Kart on the Wii in my house, like with you and your wife, before we played it we started playing on the Switch. Mm-hmm. I don't own a Wiimote though, because they replaced it with the Wii Motion Plus controller, which had better motion controls.
Okay.
It's semantics. It still just looks like one. But it's funny because, like, there were some games that you literally weren't allowed to play without the Wii Motion Plus.
They're like, hey, oh,
I love this. I think that, like, the Wii... Nintendo does a really good job of this, but, like, we wouldn't have gotten the Xbox Connect or the PlayStation Move if it wasn't for this. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Like, don't get me wrong, I hate motion controls. I think they're stupid. I'm really glad we moved back away from them. But I love that this was on there for you.
Yeah, and it might change too. We like at some point our space is really nice for like possibly doing like an Oculus kind of thing and doing some VR.
Sure.
And maybe that will kind of supersede that spot. But for now, it is the Wiimote / nunchuck.
My next one is I only did controllers that I owned on my list. So, like, if I didn't ever own it, it's not on my list, even though I have opinions about other controllers. My next one is the Hyperkin Admiral. You might be like, Spencer, why don't you just buy a brawler? I don't have a reason to own a brawler, but this is a modern layout of an N64 controller. Basically, it doesn't have 3 handles, and it looks like a modern controller with the C-pad where the other buttons would be. Comes with a dongle for your N64 so that it's a Bluetooth N64 controller. I also use it to play N64 games on my PC, as well as other games because it is Bluetooth enabled. Really great controller. Like, the most comfortable N64 controller I've ever used. It is also somewhere behind me. I'm not going to grab it. But I just think that, like, there's something about revisiting old controllers and making them better, more comfortable and more ergonomic, that means a lot to me. And honestly, this would be higher on my list if they had a firmware update for the Switch. It is not their fault, it is Nintendo's fault for not having controllers lay out how they would make sense to lay out on the Nintendo Switch N64 app.
Okay.
Which, if you buy a brawler, it actually doesn't have this problem, but I don't own a brawler, so Hyperkin Admiral. Really good controller, really long charge, really easy to set up, and also N64 games are goated, so.
Yeah, where's the it's up at the your top left. I'm looking at it now here. So I was like, where is the joystick? And it's up with your left thumb. Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Where do we go?
That tracks.
What is your number 4?
My number 4 is the GameCube controller. So I guess we're gonna talk a little bit about this here. I would have this on like higher, but I didn't really play too much with it. But my experience with the GameCube controller has been, it's just like it's the right size, like for my hands. It has the same. I feel like it's it's close to that N64 vibes. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Oh, Mr. Fancy Pants there. I don't know. It's just the buttons are spaced really nicely. Yeah, it's a really solid design. Yeah, it just solid choice. How many GameCube controllers do you have there, Spencer?
Let's not worry about that.
Okay.
So let's talk about this for a second, because I got into a heated debate talking to our friend Matt Lang about this controller.
Yeah,
I almost had
classic
higher.
Whoa.
So this is my number 3. So we'll just combine our stuff here for a second.
Yeah.
I believe that this is one of the best designed controllers ever. Matt Kling was under the opinion that it doesn't make any sense. That why would you do anything different than, an Xbox or a Nintendo Pro controller, right? Well, I have some strong opinions on this. Paddy, why would you ever want this controller?
The buttons are sized a little differently. So like you can kind of feel around and build a sense for like I know I'm pressing A or I know I'm pressing B just by like the size of where it is on your thumb.
So if I hold this controller and I put my thumbs in the same position, where are they? Where are my thumbs in their natural resting position? They are on the A button and the stick. If I put my thumbs on an Xbox or a Nintendo Pro controller, my thumb is in the middle of the 4 buttons.
Yeah.
The thing that the GameCube controller got right that nobody else will ever be able to do because it's patented is they have their main action button that all of their games are built around dead center on the right side of the controller.
Sure, that's why that's an opinion thing where like Matt and others may think that like being in the middle is actually better to reach all of the buttons.
That is what I think, which is why this is better. All of the buttons are the same distance from the action button. There's less travel distance between the A button and every other button than between the A button and the Y button. Or
you can kind of keep your I don't know. I'm handling my Xbox controller.
So the bottom button is an X button, right? You're putting it on the X where the B button is on the
A.
Sure. Wait, you're going. Oh yeah. So okay, so between A and Y is a larger distance than every button on the GameCube controller.
Sure, I am using a different part of my thumb though, right? Like I'm keeping my thumb in the same spot, and I'm just going up and down and around.
I have a strong opinion on this. I believe that the best layout of any controller is actually the GameCube controller. Now, there are some problems. Obviously, the controllers that I have on my desk are not OG GameCube controllers. These are both actually Switch controllers, meaning they both have a ZR, R, and L bumper, which would not be typical as there was only one bumper on the GameCube controller. That being said, I still think it's the best layout. The controller that I use now is the Nixie. I guess I'll just show it on the video if you're watching. I can detach them from the controller and actually attach them to my Switch as Joy-Cons that are attached to my Switch to play games with them as the controller on the Switch itself. So
that's really cool. That's a cool feature.
Yeah. Big fan. Anyway, what is your number 3?
Oh, yeah. So, my number 3 is a classic. It is the PlayStation DualShock. It is what I probably have spent that or the DualShock 2. They're pretty close in design. I've spent the most time playing games on those. It's pretty small, which I do love. I love that it is, and that's a trend, right? Because we've talked about this. How it sits in your hand is important, and I don't know. There's something about like the bottom of those DualShock controllers that like was really comfortable and really had a good like grip to it. whether it was, I don't know if it was the angle, like the length, combination of them. Um, but yeah, for me, I have a ton of hours logged on like doing like PlayStation 2 runs at night at my friend's house, just like with those DualShock and DualShock 2 controllers.
You know, um, I love that for you.
It's a trend.
No, it's funny. I was talking to like I said, Matt about this, and one of the things that it's interesting is like I kind of want like a. We'll get into the DualSense later, but like I kind of want a DualSense for a different reason. But the thing that I always think about when it comes to the PlayStation controllers is like the orientation of the sticks and the D-pad.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always made PlayStation controllers hard for me because, like, I really like it if I'm going to play, like, a side scroller or, like, a 2D game to have my D-pad up there. But I don't think that PlayStations have very good D-pads. So it's like, huh, okay. What I do know, though, is that I played a lot of Grand Theft Auto 3 on the PlayStation 2. And a lot of Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 on the PlayStation 2. So I have some nostalgia for this one as well.
Yeah. It's sizing's important, and yeah, I haven't noticed, I mean, and maybe I'm just like not like remembering, right, but I haven't had an issue with the D-pad being swapped up in that top spot, especially like now that games are kind of being designed more where like your D-pad is not like as like focused, where you have the two whatever they're bump, the help me out, I'm sorry.
The bumpers?
Not bumper, the
two
joysticks
sticks?
like, yeah. A lot of design is and movement is for those joysticks.
Yeah.
So like your the D-pad has become less important.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why the PlayStation didn't make my list. Because even though I love and have fond memories of that PlayStation, like playing on the PlayStation 2 with a DualShock controller, I like my thumbs being in the same place, resting, and it's harder for me to get used to the PlayStation controller for that, as they won't be in the same place resting most of the time, especially compared to like the other modern day controllers. However, I will say I'm really excited to talk about your number one for a very specific reason. Let's talk about my number two. I have the Xbox Series X controller. This is just an Xbox One controller with a slightly different D-pad and with grips, like little grippies on the controller. They're the same controller. Xbox was like, oh, we have the best controller on the market out of the box. Let's not change it. And then PlayStation came along and did something different. So we'll talk about that later. But the Xbox controller is, we made fun of the Duke earlier, but let's be clear. Everyone bases their controller off of the Xbox 360 controller now.
Right, yeah. Yeah. 360 is was a great controller.
My next controller is actually also based off of it, but we'll get into it in a little bit. You have Xbox One as your same controller. What do you love about it?
I love that, and just kind of playing with these ones. There's like a texture on it where it's not necessarily like an actual like grip. I do have like one for my Xbox
Series S.
Yeah. But like that feels good. I do like that that you're kind of what you were saying about like having your thumb in resting in the same spot where your buttons and your your left joystick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like kind of the classic controller, like that everyone bases everything off of. It's close to the Series X. Like, yeah.
Well, speaking of things based off of it, here is my number one controller. This is gonna be weird to hear, but it is the 8BitDo Ultimate Wireless Controller. It does
I was about
have.
to say, don't I have your other one?
That is not the Ultimate.
Got it. Okay.
The one that you have is actually the one that has the D-pad up, where the left thumbstick is. That I actually bought for 2D side scrollers. But this controller is probably my most used controller today. I use it on my PC and my Switch. It is smaller than an Xbox controller, which I like. It has back paddles. It also comes with a charging stand. It has 2.4 and Bluetooth. And its price point is like crazy. It's like $80 for a Pro controller compared to like, I mean, that's the cost of like this Nintendo one. Just not nearly as good. The only difference that I will say, like legitimately, like the only problem that I've heard anyone say, it's a little bit harsh on the rumble, but it's the most comfortable controller. It charges really well. I've never had a problem with it. It can connect via USB-C, a 2.4 dongle, Bluetooth, and it's the best controller I've ever owned. Like if you're gonna buy something, if you have a Switch and a PC, this is it. This is the one.
That's cool. I love that. Like there are some third-party ones, right, that you can use on multiple like platforms, like where you're saying the Switch and the PC. Like having something that can be more universal is awesome.
Yeah, I play Halo Master Chief Collection on my PC. That's the controller I use. If I go play Halo 5 on my computer or my Xbox behind me, I use an Xbox controller. But it's all about like I try very hard to like buy controllers that fit my need and my want. You talked about the other 8BitDo controller that you have of mine. That I think it's called.
I need to return because I haven't like touched it in a while.
I believe it's the 8BitDo Pro 2 that you have, and it's great. Like it's a great controller. It has probably has the best D-pad of all of my controllers, and that's why I bought it. Like I was like, I want something with a really good D-pad. And so I bought that, and I don't know. I think that that's one thing that I like about the 8BitDo controllers is like they don't make sacrifices. They're like, all right, we're gonna build the best controller we can at this price point. What does it have to have? So if you want to sponsor this podcast anytime, 8BitDo, send us some stuff. Paddy B's got all these new system he needs to try out. Let us know. Your number one, though, is for many people considered the greatest controller of all time. And I want to know why you have it as your number one.
Dude, I've been playing a lot of PlayStation this last week, right? Or last couple weeks, rather.
It's the DualSense, right?
It is the DualSense here on the PS5. I love... It's weird. The, like, ability to kind of mouse with the inner and having this, like, touchpad sort of like sense. Like we talk about all these like video game controllers, but like the mouse is one of the greatest control ways to control your game ever made. So like it has that kind of built in. We've been playing some Fortnite with some friends. I love that it has like mic input and output, like you get sound from the controller. Like I think that is kind of cool.
Your Xbox has that too, for what it's worth.
Does it? I have my Xbox One or my Xbox Series S controller.
Yeah, it does. You just plug in the headset.
I have tried that, and it has not.
It does. I promise.
It was not. Maybe I'll just take some troubleshooting, but like this active like mute button is nice. Like, dude, it fits so nicely in my hand. I love it. And I do like going where like we talked a little bit about like resting.
Mhm.
So like my thumbs are just on both
Thumbsticks.
both Joy-Cons and thumbsticks. Yeah.
Sure.
And then like I move over, it's the same movement,
Cool.
to either spot. Pretty symmetrical there.
That's
so
dope. Yeah. So there are a few things that we didn't talk about in the controllers that I'd wanted to mention with the DualSense and with these. So these are Joy-Cons. Very controversial controller. Neither of us mentioned it. But one of the things that it does have is an HD rumble, which is really, really important. And it is something that actually Xbox does not have. Even crazier than that is the thing that Paddy has in his hands, which is the DualSense, which has haptic rumble and haptic feedback, where if you run into the rain, they can make it feel like it's raining on your hands, unlike any other controller ever. And I
haven't gotten to experience that yet, but that sounds fantastic.
it is, it's kind of like one of those things that it's up to the developers on how much they want to use these features and things like that. But the DualSense from one of our close friends, his name is Quentin, former co-host of Concerned Criticism. When he got his Xbox Series X and his PlayStation, he's like, Spencer, I've always agreed with you that the Xbox controller was better, but after the first time that DualSense hapticked on me, that's the best controller I've ever used in my life. It was way too cool. I was like, fair enough, man. Fair enough.
For sure. Yeah. So, I haven't. Yeah, some stuff came up, so I haven't gotten to play Spider-Man yet. But it's in the queue, and I imagine that they take full advantage of that haptic.
Any final thoughts? Anything surprise you on my list? Anything like? I guess you didn't know what all my controllers were when you read the list, but
no, yeah, I got to actively look up these cool controllers as you were talking about them. Most of them, the Hyperkin, the Razer, and the 8-bit do. So, it's all about feel. Like a lot of them do a lot of the same things, but I think it's important just to find something that works for you and meets your needs. I think you talked about that a little earlier. So
yeah, I think that if you want an all-around controller, check out what 8-bit do does. But like the controllers that typically come with your system are usually really, really good. Even the Joy-Cons, we didn't mention them today, but you put them in that grip, you're pretty good for a little while. That's the one where I'm like, yeah, you might want to get another controller. But thank you so much for listening. You can find me at Spencer13H on Blue Sky. You can find Paddy at PaddyBMPG. Like, subscribe, review, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies, tell your dogs. If we get some dog reviews, that'd be great. If your dog gets the chance to just...
I love it.
Yeah, we'd love that. Paddy B, anything you want to say before we go?
No. I think that's about everything I have today.
Well, Paddy,
we'll hopefully get some TikToks going soon.
Paddy, I appreciate you jumping on with me this week. We'll see everybody next week with a brand new episode of the Need to Nerd Podcast.